Today, we're celebrating Black History always. In tonight's Hawks-Spurs game on ESPN, it'll feature our inaugural all-black NBA broadcast. Coverage, it'll be led by an all-black staff in key positions, including production, operations, transmission, social media, graphics, stats, commentators, and more. In total, more than 40 black employees will contribute to ESPN's NBA coverage across game and studio platforms throughout the day, the majority of whom contribute to its year-round and our year-round basketball coverage. Michael Wilbon, he has more on the long history of black broadcasters in sports that has led us to this moment.
When Jocko Maxwell was preparing his 15-minute radio broadcasts on the ins and outs of the Negro Leagues year after year in the 1930s and 40s, he likely never imagined a day when men and women like him, people of color, would sit center court and be paid to call the action in live time for millions of viewers and listeners of every imaginable race and ethnicity. When Wendell Smith looked into the camera during one of his sportscasts in Chicago's WGN studios in the 1960s, the notion of black and brown people directing and producing the stories of a mostly black basketball league would have been akin to fantasy. Yet, here we are, long after the pioneering efforts of both men, preparing to watch Wednesday night an NBA game on ESPN staffed by an entirely black team of broadcasters, producers, statisticians, graphic artists, and more, as part of the network's celebration of Black History Always. And we'd be remiss as we watch Mark Jones, Richard Jefferson, and Lisa Salters call the action between the Hawks and Spurs if we didn't celebrate the shoulders of those on which they stand. People like Jocko Maxwell and Wendell Smith, then Greg Gumbel, David Dupree, and Claire Smith, then Stuart Scott, Brian Burwell, and Cheryl Miller, and more recently, David Aldridge and Stephen A. Smith, Malika Andrews, and Stephanie Reddy. And those are just the people on camera, not the talented men and women producing, directing, and in so many other ways supporting. What we now think of as a celebration of Black history started in the case of Jocko Maxwell as completely unpaid broadcasts for the love of storytelling, squeezed in and around full-time work as a postal clerk. Broadcasts without which so many rich and necessary stories from a voice unlike all the others might have gone completely unreported.
As we celebrate the historic contributions from black broadcasters that shape what we do here every day, I also want to highlight the contributions of our own staff behind the scenes. You may not know their faces, but they are the heartbeat of everything we do. And that's Terrell Bouza, it's Demetrius Harris, it's Curtis Sheehan, Jalen Blythe, Jason Joseph, PJ Labatt, Vanessa Ford, Ty Friesen, Devin Hodge, Casely Blankson, it's Mitchell Bodwin, it's Johnny Dorsal, it's Heather Collins, it's Velvet Nelms, it's Haja Barnes, it's Cielo Bussell, Aaliyah Jackson, and Vince Johnson. Thank you so much for all you do to make us what we are on television every single day. And tonight, that celebration continues with our black-staffed game broadcast in Atlanta. Mark Jones, our friend, will be there to call the action alongside Richard Jefferson and Lisa Salters. Mark, why is this day so important?
You know, Malika, as you go through the litany of talented people, the names that you mentioned a moment ago, my heart is very heavy because it's a wonderful responsibility to be able to carry some of the culture forward and to pay it forward to the next generation of young black men and women who hope to get into this business. Because I can remember vividly as a young 20-something-year-old reporter growing up and going down to the baseball stadium one day and meeting Bryant Gumbel. And I said, Mr. Gumbel, and I'm emotional right now as I recall it for you. I said, Mr. Gumbel, I would love to do what you do one day. And he looked me dead in the eye, Malika, and he said, young man, I watched your sportscast last night. I think you're ready right now. And lo and behold, I went and got myself some representation a month later, and 3 months after that, I had a job offer from ESPN and ABC. So it was being able to see somebody like Bryant Gumbel on television calling all those huge games, the NBA games, the Major League Baseball, and all the other sports, hosting things that inspired me. And I hope that an event like this tonight in Atlanta inspires the next one.
Absolutely. It was Mark Spears for me, who I'm so lucky to get to sit next to on this very set today. It's really, really special to see that work brought to the forefront, Mark.
I'm on fire.